Nina. Sometimes I like to talk about things that I enjoy, but I'll be honest, I'm not always an expert in those things, but then half the world seems to talk shit about things they don't really understand, so me having a pop at reviewing a pinball game is pretty tame by comparison. There's no way you could describe me as a pinball wizard, though. It's more that I like playing pinball, but I'm not amazingly good at it. But maybe that's a good thing. After all, if a pinball game is enjoyable to a person like me, then maybe it will have a wider audience than the pinball master who knows all the nuances of pinball table design, physics, and all of that kind of stuff. There's two odd things about today's game, Fantastic Pinball Kyuutenkai for the PlayStation and Saturn. First is that someone didn't proofread the game's English subtitle and went ahead with calling it Fantastic, sick, Pinball. This subtitle only exists on the inlay and manual, as in-game it refers to itself as Kyuutenkai, which literally means revolving ball world, or maybe just pinball world, seeing as the revolving ball in question is the pinball itself. You'd expect the later Saturn release to fix her spelling mistake, but no. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Second, the other odd thing is if you look at my CD inlay, you'll see that it's not actually original because, living up to the name of the Rubbish Heap, this was a junk copy that I bought in hard off years ago, like for 108 yen I think it was, and it was missing the inlay, but otherwise it was in perfectly acceptable condition, so I handmade my own inlay and printed it off at Lawson. Now that's what I call true to the Rubbish Heap. Old junk that only someone like me could find home for. I might even send it off to Water to get graded. Haha. Anyway, Kyuutenkai is a single-table pinball game that has a fantasy theme and 3 playable characters to play from, which each have a special skill. Using a straight-up pixel art style on the 32-bit generation is a real treat because it means there are tons of colours and smooth gameplay to enjoy. There is a story, but it's your typical stuff. 256 years ago, 3 courageous warriors battled a satanic Bulbin, and he was sealed off in the depths of the earth, and peace once again reigned over Flipper World. But then Bulbin was resurrected by a shady crown and caused all sorts of eruptions for the townsfolk, who took their complaints to the imperial palace, and so the king summoned the legendary 3 heroes to put an end to all of the nonsense. The first of these 3 playable heroes are Sword Shield, whose special skill is having 3 times the destructive power in his balls, but only momentarily do his balls possess such power. And then there's the magical Yuki Tonae, whose special skill is to gain 3 times the standard points. And last is Baby Dragon King, Midoran. They are your balanced character who will gain at least 1.5 times the destructive power and points when their balls are going ballistic. Each game has initial 3 balls, but extra balls can be earned through actuating the bumpers in the earth layer to reveal the 3 crabs simultaneously, but I'll be honest, I've never managed it. The basic objective is to defeat 4 sub-bosses and then reach the maximum score to defeat the final boss. Have I done any of that? No. Like I say, I'm not a pinball expert. I've heard the Saturn version has really slow loading between the main table and the mini-games, but my retail PlayStation version loads really quickly. To my eye, Kyuutenkai plays really nicely, and the controls for the flippers and nudges feel good and simple. I'm playing via scaler at the moment on my flat-screen TV for this review, and I didn't notice any lag on my original PlayStation hardware, which this footage is recorded from. Other than choosing which hero to play as, the only other play option is for a fast or slow ball. I tend to play with a slow ball, but it seems fast enough to me. The table is set up in 3 distinct zones: Heaven, Earth and Hell, and the higher up the table you play, the higher the score you will attain. So many of the elements on the table affect score bonuses and all sorts of nice special effects, like trap the ball in Satan's hair dead centre, and a little pillar will rise up from the lava below the 2 bottom flippers, adding a bit of protection from losing the ball. Keep knocking the angel's face, and she'll eventually get super pissed and shoot lasers to affect the bumper's position, or knock it up into succubus, and they'll blow a gust of wind to affect the path of the ball. Your nudges can help you affect the ball's course and can save you from losing the ball down the out lane, but don't nudge for too long or you'll engage tilt, which will prevent your flippers from working for a short period of time. Under the right conditions, certain spots act as bonus multipliers, such as knocking the ball into Satan's or the snake's mouth, and likewise hitting them when either a trap or an arrow is pointing at the target. You'll enter the minigames with a chance to defeat one of the 4 sub-bosses known as the Shitenor. The minigames are determined by Earthstone's 3 bumpers, having the same 3 boss portraits shown, the same as gaining an extra ball in fact, though this can be pretty tough to achieve to say the least. The minigames are tough if you ask me, as they all use pinball mechanics. One of them requires you to destroy all of the furniture in Harpy's room. Another sees you trying to knock down Usako, a bunny suit girl, from the trees as she's climbing before she grabs the apples. And there is one against Satan, who you must try and score 4 goals against. And finally, one against Succubus and his clones, where you need to knock all of them out of the sky like Galaxian or Space Invaders. In all honesty, I find these really tough. The football or soccer minigame is easy enough, but the others I usually get so close to clearing them, and then the ball flies past the flippers and it's back to the main table. That is really my only criticism of the gameplay, is that sometimes the ball can fly about so quickly that I lose track of it. The ball is visible enough, it just gets obscured by all of the action, and then before I know it, it's flung into the lava, flying past my last line of defence, before you can say balls that. But I put that mostly down to my own skills rather than the fault with the game itself. The presentation is drop-dead gorgeous, and there's also a really neat feature for people like me, a save function. If you have a memory card inserted, not only will your high scores be saved, but during gameplay, if you hit triangle on your controller, a gameplay menu will appear including the save option. Here you have 3 slots to save to, and better still, if you resume from that save game, you will start from releasing the plunger, which is just great. So let's move on to the rating. Unusually, I'm taking into account the price here, as I looked at the prices for this game on Yahoo Auctions and Mercari in Japan, as this game was never released outside of the country. On the PlayStation, you're looking at about $25 for a good complete copy, and for the Saturn, you can of course add Saturn tax to those prices. Based on what I've heard though, the loading times are pretty long on the Saturn, so I think you're better off with the PlayStation version. Would I pay $25 for this game? No? I don't think so. I lucked out getting my bargain copy, and it was worth that price, definitely. But you will get a good game if you buy it, and if you have other means to play this, then it really is a lot of fun. So I rate it as 3 stars out of 5, or good on my rating scheme. As for the Japanese level, well, you don't need to know any Japanese to play this game, but the menus and annotations are all in Japanese except for those in the game menu. I have translated those for you on my Patreon post for this review, which you can find a link to in the video description as always. But for those of you who can read katakana, you'll be able to navigate these options very easily. Overall, I rate the Japanese level as beginner, though in-game text describing the 3 playable characters and the story are written using kanji as well, and that requires a conversational level of Japanese to understand, but I've explained the story and the 3 characters for you in this review already. For some people, pinball is absolutely absorbing to play, and they love it. And for some of us, well, I fall into this category. It's like the ultimate desk toy. You can play it for, say, 30 to 60 minutes, get your fill, but then you're done. And the beauty of a game like this is that it is so replayable, and it's pretty addictive too. Another tick in the box is that this game is a good example of how lovely pixel art games looked in the 32-bit 5th gen era, and as a result, it holds up much better than many games from that era. I think the mini-games are a little bit on the tough side for me, and I think that gaining an extra ball and hitting a set score interval would have been great in this game. But hey, I do keep coming back to Kyuutenkai. All in all, Tecno Soft made a good game here. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. じゃあねーね。
急展開。魔王復活を阻止せよ。痛快ファンタジックピンボール急展開がロープレライクな仕掛けを多数携えて堂々登場。この急展開で盤面に散りばめられた仕掛けの数はなんと100近くもある。どれも通常のピンボールゲームにはない一癖も二癖もある楽しい仕掛けばかりだ。ファンタジックな登場キャラクターも魅力のピンボールゲーム急展開は5800円で7月28日発売予定です。